You made a mistake 3 days ago. Not a catastrophe, not something that changed anyone's life. A sentence that came out wrong. An email you should have worded differently. A decision you would make differently now. And yet here you are, replaying it. Again and again. What's strange is that if a friend told you the exact same story, you'd probably forget about it in 5 minutes. You'd tell them it wasn't a big deal. You'd tell them everyone makes mistakes. You'd tell them they're being too hard on themselves. So here's the uncomfortable question. Why does everyone deserve understanding except you? Most people think self-criticism comes from low confidence. It doesn't. In fact, many highly self-critical people are deeply conscientious. They care about doing things well. They care about being responsible. They care about how their actions affect other people. The problem is that somewhere along the way, caring turned into surveillance. You stopped learning from your mistakes and started monitoring yourself for them. And once that happens, every small failure becomes evidence in a trial. That trial is always running inside your head. The prosecution never rests. The verdict is never enough. And the sentence keeps getting extended. Psychologists have names for some of the distortions behind this. One is called the spotlight effect. We consistently overestimate how much other people notice us. Think about the last time you embarrassed yourself. You remember every detail. The expression on someone's face. The awkward silence. The exact words. But ask yourself something. Can you remember the last embarrassing thing a stranger did 3 weeks ago? Probably not. Because while you've been starring in your own documentary, everyone else has been starring in theirs. The spotlight that feels blinding to you is often invisible to everyone else. But there's another distortion that's even more important. Most people commit what's called the fundamental attribution error. When someone else makes a mistake, they assume it's because of who they are. They're careless. They're selfish. They're irresponsible. But when they make a mistake themselves, they see the context. They were exhausted, overwhelmed, distracted, human. What's fascinating is that chronic self-critics often reverse the error completely. You offer context to everyone except yourself. You understand everyone else's humanity, while reducing yourself to a single moment. One mistake becomes your identity. One failure becomes your character. One bad day becomes proof. And that's a standard you would never apply to another person. Which raises a deeper question. Where did that voice come from? Because if you listen carefully to your inner critic, you'll notice something strange. It rarely sounds like wisdom. It sounds familiar. Maybe it has the tone of a parent, a teacher, a coach, someone who believed that being hard on you would prepare you for life. Maybe they were trying to protect you. Maybe they thought criticism would keep you from failing. Maybe they genuinely loved you. But over time, their voice moved in. Now it speaks before you do. And here's the tragic part. The critic isn't trying to destroy you. It's trying to protect you. It genuinely believes that if it stays vigilant enough, you'll never be rejected, embarrassed, or hurt again. It's a frightened guard dog that's forgotten how to stop barking. Which brings us to something most people misunderstand. Self-compassion is not the opposite of accountability. It's what makes accountability possible. Researcher Kristin Neff has spent years studying self-compassion. One of her most important findings is that people who treat themselves with kindness after failure don't become lazy. They become more resilient. They recover faster. They learn faster, and they're more willing to try again. Because when you feel safe, you can face the truth. When you feel attacked, you defend yourself from it. That's why harsh self-criticism often creates the very thing it claims to prevent. It doesn't make growth easier. It makes growth impossible. You can't heal while you're still standing in the courtroom, defending your existence. So here's the shift. The next time the critic speaks, don't argue with it. Don't try to silence it. Just ask one question. If someone I loved made this exact mistake, what would I say to them? Then notice how different that answer is. Notice how much wiser it sounds. Notice how much more useful it is. Because the goal was never to become less accountable. The goal was to finally extend the same humanity to yourself that you've been giving away to everyone else. And maybe that's what maturity actually is. Not becoming perfect, but learning that your worth was never on trial in the first place,